After the conversation, the Adams staffer asked Adams whether the staffer would pursue the unlawful foreign contributions offered by the promoter, and contrary to the Adams staffer's expectations, Adams directed the Adams staffer to pursue the promoter's legal scheme. I mean, why not? Is it even illegal if it's like there's no strings attached? Are you not allowed to just get dump trucks filled with money if you're an elected official or a politician? Are you not allowed to do that? Just sit back and look. I'm not being bribed because I'm not doing anything in exchange for the cash. I'm just accepting it. Yeah, that's it. There's nothing else to see here.
Good evening. I'm Byron Pitts in New York. We have breaking news this evening. New York Mayor Eric Adams has been indicted by a federal grand jury, according to sources familiar with the matter. Let's go straight to senior investigative correspondent Aaron Kontersky on the phone with the very latest. Aaron, what can you tell us?
Byron, we just heard a statement from Mayor Adams saying, "I always knew that if I stood my ground for New Yorkers, that I would be a target, and a target I became. If I am charged, I am innocent, and I will fight this with every ounce of my strength and spirit." A statement of defiance a moment ago from Mayor.
Oh, hold on. We have breaking news. We have an official statement from Olaimi Olurin. Let's just check this out. I think that's the official statement.
Adams to ABC News after word came that he has been indicted by a federal grand jury in New York. Byron, this follows a 10-month investigation into corruption. It began with an investigation into the mayor's fundraising from his 2021 campaign and whether his campaign took illegal foreign money, particularly from Turkey, in exchange.
From Turkey? Yeah. There's a lot of democratic scandals involving potential collusion with foreign governments. There's like the Egyptian scandal as well with the Egyptian gold bars. And that one's extra funny because like, how did you expect to ever be able to utilize this, like turn it into fiat currency? Like I get gold is gold, the gold standard, you know, but basically you just need to smelt it. If you can only get rid of all those prints that are in the bars, but that's kind of maybe why, you know, you got to look it up, start doing Google searches. How do I cash in lots of gold without anyone knowing?
For official favors by Eric Adams, and the investigation has more recently ballooned into a broader corruption inquiry involving some of his top
That's what years the gold was stolen in a home invasion. That's true. Someone took the bar.
deputy mayors and others in his inner circle.
And we all recall that months ago, I think, authorities seized his phone and members of his administration. Is this part of that investigation?
It is, and it was a highly provocative step back in November when federal agents stopped a vehicle outside an event where the mayor had been speaking. They asked his driver to step aside. Federal agents got in the car with him, and at that point seized his electronic devices that were on his person. The mayor subsequently turned over other electronic devices. And in more recent weeks...
So many details about the story, by the way, as you start to unravel it, get funnier and funnier, including the whole password fiasco where apparently he had changed his password unbeknownst to his staff so that someone couldn't hack it, but then he forgot his own password. Like, there's like a lot of select pages. We'll be going through like some pages of the indictment that are just absolutely hilarious. Again, just kind of like, how did you think you were gonna get away with this? Like the small little kind of like the wanting the secret flight discounts for, like, you know, first class tickets to Turkey, which range around like the $15,000 to $17,000 per ticket thing, and then it just being reduced down to like $1,000 and be like, yeah, just so like no one really gets a little too suspicious about this. You know, let's maybe put down a number.
The feds have raided the homes of two deputy mayors. They've seized the phone of the police commissioner, the schools chancellor, both of whom have resigned. It's not immediately clear whether anyone else has also been indicted along with the mayor, but a number of people in his top echelon of the administration had become subjects of the investigation.
Give us some context about this. These are federal charges against the sitting mayor of the largest city in the United States, New York City. How significant is this, and how deep will this go, do you think?
New York has a long and storied political history, some of it rife with corruption, Byron, but never before has a sitting mayor ever been charged with federal crimes.
Now, you might be wondering why you've got this weird phenomenon happening right now with right-wingers suddenly becoming like huge fans overnight of Eric Adams. I saw like, everyone from Jack Posobiec to the Quartering, they're all saying like, this is part of some larger conspiracy. And this is now, the Biden administration trying to go after potential political enemies and stuff like that. And that it's just so wild that all of a sudden, because of the specificity of what is taking place here, and then the difference between the centralized politics versus the federal politics. Again, this is a federal investigation. This is really, really bad. I mean, it looks absolutely horrible on him. I do want to just do a quick recap and remind everybody that this was the person who was credited partially for ending the defund the police movement. There was a lot of talk, I'm sure you remember, after the second, let's just say Black Lives Matter protests wave was going both through America and the rest of the world. And there was a lot of people who were pushing for things like defunding the police and specifically reappropriating the funds from defunding the police into other programs. Eric Adams was one of the people who was very vocal about how that entire idea, or even the utility of it, is cancerous to political careers, and that it has no place here, and that people, of all denominations want to be safe, and the true pathway to safety is to do police reform to get rid of the bad apples, and then once the bad apples are gone, the rest of the system can work as intended for everybody.
Mayors have been charged after they've left office, like Rudy Giuliani most recently, because of his entanglements with former President Trump. But a sitting mayor of New York has never been charged with a crime until now. Adams has stacked his administration with a number of loyalists, with people who he is known from his days as a police captain, a number of high-profile individuals, including his chief counsel, had advised him that perhaps he wanted to jettison some of those people, but he had.
And I mean, we could watch some highlights later, but I'm sure you all remember when obviously Olayemi, took this absolute clown to school and basically educated a lot of people to a lot of the reasons why the very concept of having someone who consistently tries to talk both simultaneously about the problems that are inherent to the criminal justice system, how it can disproportionately, it does disproportionately, target Black and brown Americans, and they're really heavily over-incarcerated. Well, if you have someone who's vocally stating these kind of talking points or trying to become, let's just say, a public figure that represents them while simultaneously not improving the conditions that are horrifying, say, in Rikers, which is something that Olayemi has worked very, very hard for and tried to bring a lot of attention to. And one of the reasons why she wanted to say it directly to his face, and that there's a lot of people who are simply in prison in Rikers because they just don't have money. They're poor. They can't afford bail. So there's this problem where people, while they're waiting their day in trial, they don't know if they're innocent or guilty in the eyes of the law yet. They haven't actually had that moment to do that. They have to spend all that time waiting in Rikers Island, which is really overpopulated. It has tons of problems. There was COVID waves that were going through that were very destructive. There's overheating. There's people in crowded cells. It looks very, very much like torture, like torturing humans en masse. This is something that really you should be bringing attention to if you in any way care about, say, prison reform or police even, or judicial reform and fixing that system. But instead, he was all about fear-mongering. He was all about consistently being like, there's so much crime, it's out of control. The people in the subways are stabbing each other. There's women getting punched on the streets. We just need to do everything that we can in order to make sure that our boys in blue are backed in every way,
Has always remained steadfast and loyal. He has said he has done nothing wrong, and he has known of no wrongdoing in the ranks of his administration. Federal prosecutors, Byron, clearly tonight disagree.
I mean, certainly we'll hear, along with the mayor, what these charges are tomorrow. But talk about Mayor Eric Adams. He was someone in the Democratic Party seen a few years ago just as a rising star, as you said, a longtime police officer in New York City. He walked the streets. He was a beat cop, rose to captain. And so many saw his ascension to mayor's office as this fast-moving star in the Democratic Party that all now seems at best in jeopardy, if not over.
Oh, he was touted as the new face of the Democratic Party, someone who could be tough on crime, but also sympathetic to many of the social issues that are many more liberal New Yorkers hold dear. And it was an interesting field from which he emerged. A number of those on the left he was able to defeat arguing that they weren't going to be tough enough to deal with the city, and he faced a Republican opponent in a talk show host who never was able to garner enough public support, and he ran on a platform of getting stuff done.
Does everyone remember Andrew Yang when Andrew Yang was running? That was funny. Yeah, how quickly we forgot Andrew Yang's run.
Of late, he has changed the way New Yorkers take out the trash by making a lot of garbage go out on the curb later so rats don't get to it. He's ordered businesses to get garbage cans with lids. And he has also tried to steer the city through the end of the pandemic, which is, I think...
I didn't know that he went after the rats. Leave the rats alone. They're part of what gives New York its special flavor.
We have some breaking news this evening to bring you tonight involving the mayor of America's largest city. This one, the New York Times is reporting tonight that New York City Mayor Eric Adams has been indicted on federal charges. NBC News has not independently verified that report, and the Times reports that those charges remain sealed as of this evening. So we do not know what those charges are and what they include or do not.
Okay, well, we do. Let's get to some of them. Before we get to the comments and all that part. Okay. Adams, every step is being watched right now. On June 22nd, 2021, Adams, through Adams' staffer, requested that the airline manager book flights to Istanbul for Adams. In order to conceal the favorable treatment, the Adams staffer requested that the airline manager charge Adams what would appear to be a, quote, real price. The staffer says, "How much does he owe? Please, let them call me and I will make the payment." The airline, "It is very expensive because it is last minute. I'm working on a discount." Staffer, "Okay, thank you." Manager, "I'm going to charge $50. This is a first class ticket to Turkey. The estimated range, especially for a last minute ticket, $15,000 to $17,000. Just so we're all clear. So $17,000, $15,000 tickets for $50 it's a discount. Definitionally, it is a discount. It is certainly a discount. Some may say significant. No, that wouldn't work, would it? No, dear, $50? What? Quote a proper price, you cads. How much should I charge? Corrupt staffer. His every step is being watched right now. $1,000 or so. Let it be somewhat real. We don't want them to say he is flying for free. At the moment, the media's attention is on Eric. So, $1,000, $14,000, $15,000, $16,000 discount. That's believable. Just again, he's a foreign dignitary. This is again more of a work trip than anything. So, Adams paid approximately $1,100 each for the round trip economy tickets on the Turkish airline for himself and Adams' partner, which were immediately upgraded to business class at no cost. Had Adams purchased business class tickets on the open market, they would have cost him more than $15,000 total. So, neat stuff. Eric Adams was at the Metropolitan Museum of Art at the reception where President Biden and other world leaders on the same night as his federal corruption indictment became public. Among those pools spotted at the reception were Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, NSC Coordinator for Strategic Communication John Kirby, New York Mayor Eric Adams, and chef and humanitarian Jose Andres. And yeah, I don't know if any of you watch this show. If you don't, you might not get this reference. But if you do watch Succession, you'll know that this is a freeze frame from a scene where, and I guess spoiler warnings for I think season 3 if you didn't want to know this, but one of the members of a very rich and powerful family is also quite interested in showing people his penis. And wants to show one person his penis, but accidentally sends his penis to everybody. Does a send all to everyone instead of just one person. So everyone who's in a business meeting that he himself is attending are sitting there as all their phones start beeping simultaneously at the same time. They're all kind of like, what the hell? And so they're all just reaching down, looking down, and the person beside him, he looks over and sees just looking directly at his erect penis on the phone. And it's quite embarrassing. And it's just one of those kind of silly moments. So I figured, yeah, that was a good reference to it.
You can look in the jewelry box. A jewelry box of this nature, maybe a simple jewelry box, but if you look through it closely.
If you don't know, this is Eric Adams showing you how to narc on your kids. Just in case you ever wanted to know how to narc on your children and look through your children to see whether or not they are, you know, stashing things. Could be weapons, drugs. You don't know. I mean, your kids they're out of control, the youth these days. So this is a kind of a PSA video on how to do this.
You don't know what your child may be hiding. For instance, a gun. Look at picture frames.
That's true, actually. I never thought about that. You know, just hadn't gone through the process of acquiring a firearm for my child. But yeah, that's true. They could just have a gun in the jewelry box. It's a good thing I watched that PSA. Had I not, I wouldn't have known to look into the jewelry box. There I found a whole cache of weapons. You had all kinds of things. What is this? AR-15s, guns, knives, something called galaxy gas. I assume that's for cooking. Everything else, though, this is pretty upsetting to me. Deeply upsetting.
Frames and behind them, cameras. Try to determine what's taking place. Behind a picture frame, you can find bullets. You should all.
Is that an American thing? I gotta tell you, like, for me, watching this whole thing, deeply, absolutely hilarious, right? It really funny, but also, like, is that a thing people just do? It's like just stray bullets, just lying around everywhere. It's like, yeah, people, they hide their bullets behind picture frames. You think that's a loving photo of a devoted family, and little do you know, there are, you know, weapons of carnage directly behind it.
Always, when your child brings in his popular knapsack with many different locations, look through it to see what exactly is your child carrying in addition to a book. Something simple as a crack pipe. Something
Man, kids. See, everyone is worried right now. I see a lot of, like, there's a lot of, I would say, older panic about kids being really into nitrous oxide, and that it's this massive phenomenon, and, like, it feels a lot like one of those kind of manufactured phenomenons where I'm not saying that kids are not huffing the nitrous and they're not having fun on the nitrous like every other generation of people have done for a very long time. You used to be able to just do nitrous hits with, like, whipping cream cans and stuff. Either way, but, like, they're really making it out on TikTok, especially, to be this horrible, detrimental thing. Kids everywhere, they're all just, like, blacked out in the side of classrooms, huffing the galaxy gas. None of them can control themselves, all this kind of stuff. I'm like, some people, I'm sure, are doing some drugs, as kids have always done. I don't know if it's an actual crisis, an epidemic of kids huffing cooking supplies. I could be wrong. I don't know. I'll wait to see the stats on that kind of stuff. But again, it's one of those things where it's like, you never know. Sorry, I'm still getting over a cold. You never know if there's a crack pipe just lying there in your kid's backpack, just at the very front. You just reach in, pull it out, and yeah, crack pipe.
simple as a baby doll. Could be just a baby doll, but also it could be a place where you can secrete or hide drugs. Run your hands over the pillows and see if you feel anything that's unusual. Like a pillow like this with a button is a perfect invitation to hide something. I felt something bumpy. I would reach in, see what it is. Just look and see what.
Another gun, the pillow gun. Oh no. Well, I mean, like, you know, if there's an intruder, you would obviously go for your jewelry gun, and if your jewelry gun is unavailable because someone has narked you out and they've taken the jewelry gun, just go full for the pillow gun. Get in on the pillow gun, you know?
Inside your bookcases. It could be more than just books. Perfect place to hide cocaine. You can look in the jewelry.
Perfect place to hide cocaine, books, crack pipes, everything. Kids today, you know, they're out of control. So Matt Binder has posted another page from the damning indictment pages that have come out. Number 13. Because the Turkish airline provided free travel benefits worth tens of thousands of dollars to Eric Adams, the defendant, he flew Turkish airline even when doing so was otherwise inconvenient. For example, during the July and August 2017 trip, Adams' partner was surprised to learn that Adams was in Turkey when she'd understood him to be flying from New York to France. Adam responded in a text message, transferring here. You know, first stop is always Istanbul. When Adams' partner later inquired about planning a trip to Easter Island, Chile, Adams repeatedly asked whether the Turkish airline could be used for their flights, requiring her to call the Turkish airline to confirm that they did not have routes between New York and Chile. You know, the first stop is always Istanbul. This is the indictment, has some of the most incredible Eric Adams-isms I've ever seen. You know, the first stop is always Istanbul. It's true. It's also true. So every step is being watched. I mean, that's troubling. Oh, there's a quote.
New York City is the Istanbul of America. New York City is the Istanbul of America.
I would, like, normally just be like, that's a just a random thing to say. Not wrong, you know, a simple, gorgeous looking city. I've never been myself. I would love to travel there. I'm not trying to say anything bad about it, but it is just profoundly random to be at a press conference and be like, New York is the Istanbul of America. And without any context, obviously, like now I understand. Now, okay, everything makes sense. I get why he was saying something like that. But prior to all of this, it's again, pretty random. He was heckled today after trying to make statements at a press conference.
Black day. This is not a black day. This is a youth day. This is a youth day, Eric Adams. This is not a black day. Your policies are anti-black. You are a disgrace to all black people in this city. The things that you have done are unconscionable.
Your policies are anti-black. You are a disgrace to all black people in the city. The things that you have done are unconscionable, are some of the things that are being shouted at Eric Adams live on television.
You hurt our schools. Our streets are dirty. Our children are harassed by the police. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. You can shush me all you want, but the people are with us. And this is not a black day. This is a justice day.
First of all, I want to thank you for being here this morning.
And that's how the press conference started, live. It wasn't exactly the most productive. Eric Adams was just indicted on federal charges in New York. Adams is the same guy who was in a WhatsApp group chat with Bill Ackman that pressed him to send police to disperse the pro-Palestinian protests at Columbia University, in case anyone has forgotten about that. This is what I will remember of Eric Adams. Hundreds of cops swarming Columbia's campus for 40 or something unarmed people in a building. The New York Police Department threatened to arrest journalists and EMTs. A cop almost firing a gun at a student. He turned the campus into a war zone. And this, I thought, was just, there's a lot of memes. Share your memes, please. You know, I'd love to see the memes. I'd love to rewatch the Eric Adams talking about how, you know, trying to promote New York with 9/11 clip. That one's funny. There was another absolutely hilarious story that I read, but I've completely lost the link. But if you have funny Eric Adams stories that you think the world needs to know, please share them. The mayor of New York has been arrested for corruption. Sounds like the preamble that would appear in a 90s beat-em-up game, and I'm here for it. I'm ready to fight identical guys and gain health with street chicken. I'm going to change my name to Blaze. The mayor of New York City has been arrested for corruption. Very, very, like, you know, the Sega Genesis era kind of, you know, or Final Fight as well, but Streets of Rage, Final Fight kind of, I completely agree. Even sounds better with the music. Like, 100% would be the intro. It's good stuff. My favorite Eric Adams story is the one from Curbed, where they tried to prove that he actually lived in New York City by staking out his house for a week. Oh, I think this is it. Yeah, my favorite Eric Adams story is the one from Curbed, where they tried to prove he actually lived in New York City by staking out his house for a week. He came home twice, parked in front of a garage, and when he left, there was traffic, so he drove on the sidewalk. Hell yeah. Oh, man. You know, yet another public official, I think, being unfairly canceled at this point. Just dids being dids, all right? Just, you know, when you're trying to pretend that you actually live inside of a district and you're going through all the trouble to do it, but you don't want to get stuck in traffic, and you want to try and abuse your power of authority, in which you do not have the right to do. There is no there's no kind of like allotment made specifically for the mayor where they don't have to obey any traffic laws whatsoever. Oh no, I'm absolved of that. I'm actually the mayor, you see. I'm allowed to drive wherever I want. This is my city after all. I'll be giving the key to Puff Daddy pretty soon. Ultimately, Curb opted for the old-fashioned stakeout. 7 reporters taking shifts, hiding out in a rented gray Nissan Sentra with Florida plates, parked directly across the street from his building. The plan was to be on the block overnight, Monday through Thursday, driving the first week of early voting. The stakeout started at 7 on Monday afternoon. 2 full shifts went by, 7 to 7, then 7 to 4 a.m. Wow, without a soul entering or departing the apartment. Then on 4:18 a.m. on Tuesday morning, I was sitting in the car, bored, when I noticed a gray Toyota Prius with the New York City plates circling the block, finally parking just past Adams' building. A tall black man who looked a lot like Adams walked into the basement apartment, turned on the lights, and then shut them off for about 5 minutes. When he came home from his Borough Hall office, where he slept for months during the pandemic, his favorite club, Zero Bond, where he recently hung out with the likes of Jonathan Food Good, Chaman, and Equinox CEO Harvey Spivak. Either way, once he was inside, things got slightly weird. The Prius, it seemed, was legally parked in front of an active garage for a plumbing supply company, which quickly became a problem for the trucks attempting to enter the said supply company. They were soon backed up all the way down to Lafayette Avenue, causing a bona fide pileup while Adam slept inside. This went on for hours. The trucks sat there. A few of the drivers got out to see what the holdup was, until finally... Again, though, he's the mayor. I'm sorry, but this is his right, okay? He earned this. Until 8 a.m., someone from the supply company came out with a forklift, tied a yellow rope to the back of Adam's car, and towed it a few feet so things could get moving. Before my shift ended at 9 a.m., I texted the Curb editor, Willie Blackmore, to say someone should take over for me. We hadn't planned to be there during the day to confirm it was in fact Adams, and to see what he would do with the towed Prius, whose driver's side was now blocked by the very traffic jam he appeared to have caused. Willie arrived just in time to see Adams, definitely Adams, leave his apartment, climb into the car from the passenger side, shipping into the driver's seat, then drive up into the sidewalk. He drove blithely on the sidewalk until he was just past the jam, then turned right on Stuyvesant Avenue. Amazing. See, you should have added that he also caused the traffic jam that he himself wanted to avoid by doing a getaway on the sidewalk. Amazing. At 12:37 a.m., a couple hours of the final mayoral debate, during which Adams declined to shed more light on how often he sleeps at the Brooklyn apartment that we were lurking outside of, Sherigan saw Adams walk back into the front door. A mere 7 minutes later, he popped back out. He paced on the phone for a few minutes, then looking directly at the car, yelled, "Oh shit, I caught you, assuming he'd been made by the soon-to-be mayor, who, to be fair, is also a former cop. Shant left. So, does Eric Adams live in his own home? Maybe. Though if there was ever a time Eric Adams to live in his apartment, it would be the week before Election Day. In response to our findings, the soon-to-be mayor had this to say: "I got home late and drove around my neighborhood several times looking for parking, like so many New Yorkers do, and thought I would be out of the house early enough to move my car before the business opened. There is no excuse for it. In reflection, I should have just rode my bike." What about the whole driving on the sidewalk thing? You didn't mention that part. Or is that part, I guess, included within the apology? See, that was one of the Eric Adams stories I didn't know, right? There's other ones I knew about. The Vanity Fair one. What's the best concert you've ever been to? Curtis Mayfield at the Wintgate Concert Series. At the concert, there was a rainstorm, and the lights fell on Curtis Mayfield, and they actually paralyzed him at the concert. He died a few years ago, but it was an amazing concert before that happened. It's just so unfortunate. Just very profoundly Eric Adams like thing to think and then say, and then like just be a matter of public record forever. You know, I think constantly about the time Eric Adams said the best concert he ever attended was the one where Curtis Mayfield was permanently paralyzed by falling light equipment. I think like he just maybe operates on a different level than us. Here's one of the funniest things he's ever said. Food is addictive. You take someone on heroin, put them in one room, and someone hooked on cheese, put them in another room, and you take it away. I challenge you to tell me the person who's hooked on heroin and who's hooked on cheese. Okay, Charlie. Any excuse to play. It's always sunny moments.
What were you even doing in that crawl space, Charlie?
Well, for starters, I was minding my own business. I was also trying to do a little light reading, and then I was putting some cheese in the rat traps.
You were putting the cheese in the rat traps?
Yes.
Can I smell your mouth?
Why?
You were eating the cheese, weren't you? Out of the rat traps.
No, well, yes. I mean, I was eating the old cheese to test it, see why the rats weren't eating it. So you guys, you ever eat cheese? Cheese is a funny thing. Cheese is a strange thing. I always wonder, like, what is cheese? Where does it go?
What was that? Is that cheese? Have you eaten cheese? How much cheese have you eaten today?
How much cheese is too much cheese?
Any amount of cheese before a date is too much cheese.
Hey, that's some Chad advice for you all there. All right, men, if you're going on a date, just beware. All right, don't try to gorge yourself on cheese to the point that you get the cheese sweats at the very start of the date, because that also would be a strange thing to try and explain, as you see before you.
A lot of cheese. I had a block of cheese.
Okay, just eat a block of cheese.
I was very nervous. I started eating cheese, man.
All right. Does that calm you down? Just don't. Have you gotten into the cheese?
There's all cheese section.
I bet there
I
is.
went nuts.
Talk about a
I
different.
can ignore the cheese.
Okay, fine. Eric Adams was right. Okay, this proves it. Without a shadow of a doubt, Eric Adams was onto something with his entire, if you put a man addicted to heroin in a room and a man addicted to cheese in a room, I won't be able to tell the difference between the two of them. That's kind of scary. As a police officer, I would think that you feel like, what, are you gonna start arresting fucking cheese addicts? I'm not saying that they I guess they exist. I saw there was that person, I think she's like a hardcore Zionist who had to spend thousands of dollars going to like rehab for cheese. Like, it's not that there is a specific cheese rehab, but she had to spend a lot of money on counseling to try and like slow the cheese addiction. But as I'm like most of you, I would assume, a great lover of cheese. I think cheese is delicious, but you know, I guess I've never been addicted to heroin, so I don't really know. But what movies and in general, like literature and academia on the subject make me realize is that it looks a little more intense than say, like, you know, there's just not a lot of people who have like a Gouda and then like days later are like literally having shakes and sweats and like, you know, having to do anything they can, like, you know, steal to be able to get more Gouda. That's not something I've really heard of, but for sure. So that's good. See, more Eric Adams stories I didn't know. Oh yeah, we got to talk about the password. Eric Adams press conference and indictment. He was where's the phone story? That one's also hilarious. He made a fake paper trail, including emails to his assistant that he left cash to pay their airliner in a drawer. What? As a Brooklyn borough resident, Adams employed a scheduler, the Adams scheduler, who managed his appointments, meetings, and other official events. Despite her status as a New York City employee, the Adams scheduler was used by Adams to perform personal tasks for him, such as collecting rent at a Brooklyn property he owned. Adams also assigned the Adams scheduler to pay various personal expenses for him, after which Adams would reimburse the Adams scheduler in cash. So you're getting a staffer to wash money for you. In 2017, Adams sent a series of emails to the scheduler, directing the Adams scheduler to pay for the free 2017 flights he had and his companions taken on Turkish Airlines. But the emails provided inconsistent explanations. In some, Adams suggested that the Adams scheduler would pay by using Adams' credit card, while in others, Adams claimed to have left cash in an envelope for the Adams scheduler to send to the Turkish Airlines. Very normal stuff that people not involved in sketchy stuff do. For example, on November 25th, 2017, Adams sent an email to the Adams scheduler saying that with respect to the July trip, meaning in July and August 2017 trip on Turkish Airlines, quote, I left you the money for the international airline in an envelope in Adams' email, suggesting that he left at a minimum well over $10,000 in cash. Oh, sorry, in the top desk drawer. Please send it to them. Their business class tickets for Adams alone, of course. In the Adams scheduler desk drawer to send to the Turkish Airlines as payment, the flight was taken months earlier. He did not do that, as the records from the Turkish airline confirmed that Adams did not pay the airline in cash or otherwise because the tickets were complimentary. Well, I mean, there's no crime if they're free. That's just science, right? And like, I feel like Giuliani got a kind of a free pass today, thanks to Eric Adams, because like this is a long time coming. Giuliani should not be able to, you know, practice law. He has shown himself to be more of kind of an alcoholic, racist, potential alleged rapist. So I would think that it would be within their best interest to try and prevent him from doing that. But Rudy Giuliani has been officially disbarred in Washington, D.C. He has been suspended since his disciplinary proceedings last year. District of Columbia Court of Appeals have said this opinion is subject to formal revision, but yay, Rudy Giuliani permanently disbarred in Washington, which is also good news. So something else, Fox News has changed their tone on Eric Adams. He's no longer pro-immigrant, turning New York into a cesspool mayor who has all these open border policies and all this other stuff like that. After the indictment of New York Mayor Eric Adams was unsealed, Fox News was forced to quickly change its tune from pushing conspiracy theories about retaliation from the Biden administration to admitting that the indictment laid out a seemingly damning case. Discussing the then sealed indictment against Adam on Fox and Friends, host Ainsley Earhart declared, "It sounds like you don't fall in line with the Biden family or this White House or the administration or the top Democrats. Your life will be ruined. Yeah, they'll come after you."
Here's the thing, he's indicted, grand jury, that always happens. 99% of the time, indict the ham sandwich, you've heard that. Because you...
What did that sentence mean? Really? I don't think you're educating the general American public on how a grand jury works and how this whole selection process came down and what this means, the implications for it. If you just say, well, you know, grand jury, you've heard the song before, ham sandwich is guilty. And now we find ourselves here.
Only hear the other side.
Right.
He doesn't get, his attorneys don't get to tell their side. Exactly. So that's why it's usually an indictment. Now it will go forward and he's innocent until proven guilty. But after we watched what happened to Donald Trump, there is doubts.
Especially in New York.
There are doubts in our minds here in New York because of what we saw them do.
How does the new police commissioner, who's only been there for a week, get raided
They
too?
took his phone.
And why do they do the raids when they're going to Washington to talk to President Biden about the immigration problem in New York? If you don't, it sounds like if you don't fall in line with the Biden family or this White House or this administration or the top Democrats, your life can be ruined.
Ask Matt Taibbi. He was testifying on Capitol Hill, and the IRS showed up at his door wanting his taxes.
But this actually should be a pretty...
So we're all over the map. I mean, where to even land here? I'm sure Matt Taibbi is very, very happy. I mean, I think his entire essence grows by +1 percentage points. You know, he gets little experience points every single time he's mentioned in any capacity. Doesn't matter if it's terrible. Doesn't matter if it's embarrassing. Doesn't matter if it's this entire kind of like, Elon, Daddy, please don't leave me. Don't let me fall from the good graces. Yeah, I mean, it is kind of scary to think that at any point the Biden administration can use, untold authority to try and persecute their political enemies in the same way that an authoritarian fascist would. That is not what exactly is happening here, but it does certainly sound scary when we say it out loud and imply it heavily. And you got to sit at home and be like, who's next? I mean, you know, if they're coming after their own with Eric Adams.
Easy case to prove. All you've got to do is follow the money.
All you got to do is follow the money. Follow the money. After the indictment was unsealed, Fox News legal editor Carrie Kupek-Urban was asked to respond to those who think the retaliation from the Biden administration does that seem to have anything to do with this. Urban bluntly responded, not looking through this indictment, adding, looking through this indictment, this began long before any of the immigration stuff was going on. Oh.
And Carrie Urban, we dragged her back in. She is Fox News legal editor, and good to have you here. So now that you've had a chance to look over the charges a little bit more, your sense of how things stand now.
That's not good. And what's interesting is it appears that it started when, according to the federal government, of course, when Adams was elected as Brooklyn borough president. He took all of these foreign trips, and they claim that that's when he began building these relationships, which ended up leading to them donating to his mayoral campaign when he ran. And he did this through this thing called straw donations, which is foreign money being funneled through people who say they're just these individual folks here in America, and they're actually not. And I think the really bad aspect of all of that was that they then submitted those donations to this New York City matching program.
Yeah, I guess they followed the money. It's just like they said on Fox and Friends, follow the money, and then you do follow the money. It's like, it's not good. Yeah, maybe I could talk to you off camera for a second here. You got to update all the chyrons. This is, it's not a Biden conspiracy theory.
And so New York City matched at up to $10 million. So that's where they're saying they defrauded basically New York City taxpayers because, one, he shouldn't have had this money from foreign governments in the first place contributing to his campaign. And two, then they used it to get an additional $10 million from New York City to
bolster his campaign. Wow. Oh, that's interesting.
So late last night, there was a report that crossed here in New York that apparently there was a request to build a Turkish consulate in Brooklyn. And the accusation that was leveled on the report is that the mayor worked to make sure that the construction happened, where the New York Fire Department was hesitant to go forward with it. Why, we don't know. But apparently the mayor put his foot on the gas or something. That's what the allegation suggests anyway.
Yeah, and when you read through this indictment, and I'm still reading through it, It's a pretty strong allegation to say that the mayor of New York City was actively creating fake paper trails and the like, and that for instance, even his deputy, his assistant, when he was Brooklyn Borough president, was acting in his direction with all of these foreign governments and these relationships and the money coming in and then matching these campaign funds in New York City. So there's a lot here.
For those who think that it might be retaliation from the Biden administration for Eric Adams being very frustrated and pushing back against the administration about the migrant crisis, does that seem to you to have anything to do with this?
Not looking through this indictment because it goes back so far. You know, this is years and years in the making. Now, look, that being said, New York City is an interesting place, and you know, one has to wonder what's going on in the New York City political.
I mean, that being said, I do understand, you know, where my paycheck comes from. So I am going to basically give you like whatever you need here. So it is certainly a large city. A lot of things happen, you know, the Big Apple. Who knows? Anything is possible. And legally, I can say that anything is possible. And use your imagination, right?
Machine to have even lasered in, I should say, on Eric Adams like this. So there's always that open question of what's happening here in the backdrop of New York City. But looking through this indictment, this began long before any of the immigration stuff was going
late
on.
last night.
It doesn't really help the whole Trump narrative, right? This isn't the first time Fox News and others in right-wing media have immediately gone into conspiracy theory mode to defend someone accused of corruption by claiming it was an act of retribution for supposedly weaponized Biden Department of Justice. Biden, the Department of Justice, going after everybody. Look at this. Kamala Harris attacks send FBI to New York City Mayor Adams' home after he blasted Democrats over immigration. Some people just, like, they don't care. There's no editorial team. It doesn't matter. You don't need to, you know, have standards and practices or maybe a legal analysis, go through everything and actually piece it all together. You could just say it out loud. Run with the story. Make some epic memes. Or is it?
It's now my belief
masterful
that the federal
candidate.
government
Look at
intends
that.
to charge me with
so
crime.
big chungus. Look at this shit.
In Springfield, Ohio, New York City has completely fallen apart, has completely fallen to massive unchecked immigration, which is, of course, ironic given that that's where Lady Liberty stands and where, you know, many people landed in the early days of this country. But looks like people who are speaking out against it are getting the full fervor of Kamala's FBI. Make no mistake about it. This is Kamala Harris. Joe Biden is a head of lettuce. He's not running anything. This is the Democrats. This is Kamala Harris squashing anybody who exposes their bad policies. And this is insane. If you weren't awake before.
Again, just like how is she simultaneously this kind of Marxist, communist, Stalinist who has all power and also has no policies, is completely inept, unable to govern, can't do anything, the worst vice president in the history of you know, the great nation known as America. You can't have both. She's got to either be an all-powerful vice presidential dictator that is ruling with an iron fist, or she's just the vice president of the United States that, for in large part, is a ceremonial position. I'm not saying that she's not in the inner circle. I'm not saying that she's not in the room. I'm not saying she's not in the war room. I'm not saying she's not within a proximity of power, that she could actually be doing a fuck ton more to try and, you know, slow the amount of military aid that is being given to a genocidal regime. But that notwithstanding, she's not the one calling the shots. That would be absurd and cartoonish to suggest.
Certainly many Democrats, many New Yorkers, I feel like, I know it's crazy, maybe election day will come out and I'll be totally wrong, but a lot of people felt like, hey, New York's actually in play. Well, this might actually push over the edge. This morning, the FBI...
When you're a VP to a lame duck, you're kind of tied. You are absolutely. And I mean, she is right now running a campaign, so she's kind of like very front facing. This is kind of an incredibly unique situation, though, right? You don't often have this kind of like, well, the vice president is who is running for the presidential candidate. She's on the ticket. It's going to be her for the president of the United States. At the same time, she's simultaneously the vice president of the United States, and she has to still, you know, do her duties that are behooved to her as is her position, which is limited in scope and power. You know, you can be a deciding vote on certain things. You can certainly bring issues to the table, and you have, like any other monstrous public figure, unlimited press power, right? That's again one of the things a lot of people turn to. It's like, why don't you use your opportunity when you're in front of a camera to speak out about this, to speak out about that? And then you'll get the rebuttal from most likely liberals who say she doesn't want to rock the boat. The election's just around the corner. She's just trying to get elected. When she's elected, you're going to see all these wonderful new things appear out of nowhere, which is historically usually how these things happen. There's always just wonderful far leftist surprises that happen directly after people and politicians get into power, and not, you know, lofty promises being made when they want to be in power prior to that. But all that notwithstanding, yeah, it's an awkward situation for sure, but not one in which I believe that she has authoritarian power in any capacity.
Confidential documents, right? When Joe Biden did it, he was just a well-meaning old man who wasn't really sure what he was doing. When Donald Trump did it, it was the biggest story in the news for a month, and the FBI raided his home in Mar-a-Lago, scared his family, all this kind of stuff, right? The Department of Justice has been weaponized by the Democrats. Eric Adams.
So in those two situations, here's why they're not identical. They're actually quite different. In the Biden one, he was alerted that he may have had documents taken that he did not have the right to have in his possession. When he was told about it, he had a secret serviceman and one of his staffers look into it. They found the documents, and they returned the documents. And that was the story. In the Trump case, it's quite different. Trump was told that he has a very large amount of sensitive, secret documents that he's not supposed to have. He was told to return the documents. He refused. They then tried to subpoena him. He again still refused. They then told him that they were going to have to eventually get a warrant to be able to retrieve the documents. And again, nothing from him. They got the warrant. They raided. They took the documents back. That's why there's, you know, some differences there.
Becomes the first New York City mayor indicted in historic federal, so Kamala's team, probe claims feds persecuting him over migrant crisis. Mayor Eric Adams has been indicted by a grand jury on charges connected to a federal probe, told the Post. As the defiant chief executive claimed, he was being persecuted by the federal government for speaking out about the city's migrant crisis. I 100% believe that.
Not true. Fox News debunks the quartering and Jack Pacific and all the other right-wingers, the people who have absolutely, I guess, no standards because they don't have editorial teams. They can just say whatever they want on the internet until someone is so damaged by what they do that they have to actually take it upon themselves to try and raise enough money to be able to do a lawsuit. But outside of that, it's just, you know, say whatever you want and just say it out loud. And hopefully no one will ever look up the fact that this actually is something that was being investigated long before the entire accusations of Joe Biden potentially being in stark contrast to Eric Adams on a single comment about migrant crises. Don't think that's the reason why. Is there any other evidence presented? Same article, still the same article. So we got, it's still, yeah. So New York Post. Yeah, okay. A lot of crypto ads. And now the comments at the bottom of the article. Great. Well, I don't need to see if there's any, you know, slurs that pop up or anything like that. Finally, is there any copium on Fox?
We are going to bring you now more news, more New York officials calling on Mayor Eric Adams to resign here.
Oh, I thought I had this on like minus speed, like it was slowed down. That's just how he talks.
Because of all of this, I want to put this up. You see there from the New York Times that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez said Eric Adams should resign as mayor of New York City for the good of the city. Because she becomes the most prominent Democrat to push for his ouster amid federal corruption investigations involving his administration. So, AOC says this: I do not see how Mayor Adams can continue governing New York City. The flood of resignations and vacancies are threatening government function. Nonstop investigations will make it impossible to recruit and retain a qualified administration. That's just part of her statement there on social media. Linda Schmidt has the news statement. Mayor Eric Adams firing back at AOC here. We have it. Let's take that live here. Let's take that full. This is how Mayor Adams is responding to this, saying for anyone who self-righteously claims people charged with serious crimes should not be in jail, to now say that the second black mayor of New York should resign because of rumors and innuendo without even a single charge being filed is the height of hypocrisy. I am leading this city to protect it from exactly that kind of phony politics. The people of this city elected me to fight for them, and I will stay and fight no matter what. Okay, we are getting some breaking news in right now. This is quite something. Okay, this is coming to us from the New York Times. And then
Ain't no way this happened in real time. Are you serious? That's beautiful.
this is quite stunning. I had just said in this entire story that we have been covering that no indictments, no charges had yet been filed in all of this scandal going on in New York City, in the mayor's office,
no indictments,
City Hall,
no
the NYPD,
no
the New York City public schools. The New York Times has it right now that Mayor Eric Adams of New York City was indicted following a federal corruption investigation. That's according to people briefed on the case here. This is breaking right now. This is quite stunning here. We just read out that statement from the mayor firing back at AOC. AOC becoming the first New York member of Congress to call on Adams to resign. There are, though, in Albany, several state lawmakers who have already done just that, calling on Adams to resign. AOC becomes the first U.S. House member from the New York delegation to do just that. Now, Mayor Eric Adams of New York City has been indicted following a federal corruption investigation. Remember, he first came to power as mayor back in 2021 after winning that election there. And so we don't know what that indictment says. This is just from the New York Times. We're going to wait to see if other outlets confirm it, like the Associated Press. We're waiting on sources here at Fox as well to confirm what we just brought to you, as well as Fox 5 there in New York, and we'll wait to see from the mayor's office what their response is.
So I guess this is the live Fox. Oh no, wait, is this Tampa? Where's this one from? Live now, Fox, New York City Mayor Adams. Blah, blah. I assume this is from a local station, considering that he discovered it live on television.
Is to this, and once that indictment, whenever it is unsealed, we'll have to look at what charges Adams is facing here. But that is the news right now. Mayor Eric Adams of New York City facing weeks of mounting pressure with almost everyone in his orbit being swept up into these scandals that have plagued the Big Apple for months. Eric Adams, the mayor, being indicted. We don't know on what just yet here, but that is breaking from the New York Times. Mayor Eric Adams has been indicted on federal criminal charges, according to people with knowledge of the matter that's being reported by the New York Times here. He will be the first mayor in New York City history to be charged while in office. This is quite something here. So the alleged public corruption right now is quite historic there in the Big Apple.
Wow. History being made in real time. No. We believe in everyone is innocent until proven guilty. We're going to wait. Obviously, we want to see as new developments come. We're not doing any crab dancing just yet. I mean, there's still the system of justice, of which we do all believe in, and everyone should have a right to, again, due process, the right to an attorney, and all of that, and then the right to humane treatment if they happen to be convicted, charged, and then placed within some kind of incarceral system that should be one that is hopefully not overpopulated and with terrible living conditions, that kind of stuff. So we will wait. We're gonna hold off on this, all right? Because we're better than that. All right, let's see if there's any details I missed.
Your policies are anti-black. You are disrespectful.
Says that I want.
You compared him to Doug Ford. Oh no, sorry, Rob Ford. Yeah. Oh, by the way, shout out to other channels. That obviously are going to be talking a lot about this. Consciously, for example, Olaimi, aka Olurinati. I would definitely go subscribe and check out their channels. They're probably going to have much more in-depth, breakdowns as to what exactly is taking place behind the scenes, and it does behoove all of you. Yeah. To check it out.
Eat or pussy in conduct. I've never said that in my life tour. I would never do that. I'm happily married. I've got more than enough.
Oh yeah, this is such a throwback. I don't even remember, but this is when at the time the mayor of Toronto was talking about accusations of pussy eating.
Never said that in my life tour. I would never do that. I'm happily married. I've got more than enough to eat at home. Thank you very much.
Oh. I'm happily married. I got more than enough to eat at home. Yeah. No. My My cup runs over with pussy, okay? There's a pussy surplus over here. It's just too much. I'm trying to get some of it shipped overseas. You know what I'm saying? It's just like I got too much pussy on my hands. So yeah. What was the question?
Oh, the memories. All right, enough about Toronto. Let's get to the details here of New York City Mayor Eric Adams' indictment. I'm also going to include some clips along the way as well.
Yes, he was frequently and heavily accused of smoking crack cocaine, to which he denied for a very long time, until some leaked videos and pictures came out of him smoking crack cocaine with other people, at which point he had to make a statement that was also equally as hilarious, which I think was along the lines of like, I have done many activities at times. I have drank too much in the past, and I deeply regret it. I've experimented with certain drugs, and yes, I have tried crack cocaine. Well, you're putting Toronto on the map. Oh, look, Jimmy Kimmel's calling. Jimmy Kimmel wants to laugh at you. Why don't you go over there and try to salvage this?
First, here is the top line. So from Yashar Ali here, New York City Mayor Eric Adams.
He's the current premier of Toronto's brother. He was the mayor of Toronto, and his brother Doug Ford is the premier of Toronto.
Been charged with conspiracy to commit wire fraud, federal program bribery, receiving campaign contributions from foreign nationals, wire fraud, 2 counts of solicitation of a contribution by a foreign national, and bribery. So these details aren't all that hilarious, but the details of how some of this came about are, it's just so comical in how overtly criminal Eric Adams is. So let me give you a little taste. First, here is the full indictment. I'll link to this below the video. But this is a little taste of maybe what to expect here.
New York City is the Istanbul of America.
Now, I'll play a clip later where he says this about a lot of cities, but it does really in particular apply to Turkey here. So the complaint focuses on trips Adams and his partner took to Turkey, India, and Ghana on Turkish Airlines, sometimes staying in luxury hotels. That, as an elected official, should have been disclosed to the government.
This one's kind of half and half, though, right? Like, I totally understand and think it's absolutely egregious that he may have been using public-funded taxpayer funds to, bankroll a whole bunch of different things. But in the case of the Turkish Airlines tickets, he was getting the discount tickets from the airline itself, right? Which you could definitely say is kind of, in some ways, kind of a strange bribe. Or maybe not a bribe, a gift. He just kept getting gifts, just gift after gift after gift, and that he flew internationally almost exclusively with one airline because the flights were always just so great. He would just almost exclusively get bumped up to business class at no expense to himself and only pay about $1,000 for a ticket that would otherwise cost about $15,000. And yeah, why not? Yeah, that whole thing. The airline is a registered lobbyist, right? Okay. Yeah, I guess so.
And campaign contributions made by Turkish officials through a system of straw donors. Now, this is where we get to some of the funny stuff. All right. So from Peter Stern here, just to be clear about his where he's from, editor of City and State New York. So he writes, the indictment claims that an Adams campaign staffer told a potential donor that Adams probably wouldn't want to accept illegal donations, but then checked with Adams and learned that actually he was totally cool with it. So let me just read a bit of this. It's just so comical, just so overtly criminal. So the promoter stated in part, fundraising in Turkey is not legal, but I think I can raise money for your campaign off the record. The Adams staffer inquired, how will Adams declare that money here? The promoter responded, he won't declare it, or will make the donation through an American citizen in the U.S., a Turk. This is straw donation, which is illegal. I'll give cash to him in Turkey, or I'll send it to an American. He will make a donation to you. The Adams staffer replied, I think he wouldn't get involved in such games.
I love when all this kind of stuff gets leaked afterwards so you can get to see what was happening behind the scenes. And there's always moments along the way. If this was like a Lifetime movie about the staffer, the Adams staffer who was, kind of incriminated in a whole bunch of potentially light treasonous style stuff. When they decided this seems off. That moment, just that kind of like, it was then that I thought to myself, was this honorable? And then just keep going, I guess. I think he wouldn't get involved in such games. They might cause a big stink later on. How much do you think he would come from you? The promoter responded, max $100,000. The staffer wrote, $100K. Do you have a chance to transfer that here? We can do it while Eric is in Turkey. Let's think. After the conversation, the Adams staffer asked Adams whether the staffer would pursue the unlawful foreign contributions offered by the promoter, and contrary to the Adams staffer's expectations, Adams directed the Adams staffer to pursue the promoter's legal scheme. I mean, why not? That's yeah. Is it even illegal if it's like there's no strings attached? Are you not allowed to just get dump trucks filled with money if you're an elected official or a politician? Are you not allowed to do that? Just sit back and look. I'm not being bribed because I'm not doing anything in exchange for the cash. I'm just accepting it. Yeah, that's it. There's nothing else to see here.
They may cause a big stink later on, but I'll ask anyways. The Adams staffer asked, "How much do you think would come from you?" The promoter responded, "Max 100K." The Adams staffer wrote 100K. "Do you have a chance to transfer that here? We can't do while Eric is in Turkey." To which the promoter replied, "Let's think." After this conversation, the Adams staffer asked Adams whether the Adams staffer would pursue the unlawful foreign contributions offered by the promoter, and contrary to the Adams staffer's expectations, Adams directed that the Adams staffer pursue the promoter's illegal scheme. Totally cool with it. And that amounted to defrauding New York City out of $10 million in public funds. So I won't read through all this, but essentially New York City has a public matching funds program where small dollar contributions can be matched by the city. And Eric Adams, through this process, taking money from Turkey through these straw donations, did matching funds for those donations, and which amounted to stealing received more than 10 million in public funds for his campaign. Like, just the brazenness. What is amazing about this? This showcases to me that clearly Adams has gotten away with a hell of a lot in his life. You don't attempt to do something like this unless you already feel emboldened, unless you already have gotten away with a ton of other shit. Like, this is just next level insanity. Now, there are several funny aspects of this. So Matt Bender shares this portion here. This indictment has some of the most incredible Eric Adams isms I've ever seen. This conversation between Eric Adams and his wife is hilarious. So because the Turkish airline provided free travel benefits worth tens of thousands of dollars to Eric Adams, the defendant, he flew the Turkish airline even when doing so was otherwise inconvenient. For example, during the July and August 2017 trip, Adams' partner was surprised to learn that Adams was in Turkey when she had understood him to be flying from New York to France. Adams responded in a text message, "Transferring here, you know, first stop is always Istanbul." When Adams' partner later inquired about planning a trip to Easter Island, Chile, Adams repeatedly asked her whether the Turkish airline could be used for their flights, requiring her to call the Turkish airline to confirm that, of course, they did not have routes between New York and Chile. Like, this guy taking these free flights from Turkey and then trying to apply that to every flight he is taking. Just, again, the comical nature of how criminal all of this is. So, this from The Guardian. In September 2021, 2 months before he was elected New York City mayor, prosecutors alleged Turkish officials called in their debt. So they gave him all this money. Now it's time to pay the Turkish officials back, telling Adams, quote, "It was his turn to repay the Turkish official by pressuring the New York City Fire Department to facilitate the opening of new Turkish consular building, a 36-story skyscraper, without a fire inspection in time for a high-profile visit by Turkey's president." The indictment notes that at the time, the 46-story building close to the UN would have failed a fire department inspection. In exchange for free travel and other travel-related bribes in 2021 and 2022 arranged by the Turkish official, Adams did as instructed.
Ooh, that's bad.
So this is when it opened. Here you go. September 2021. Turkey opened skyscraper in New York that towers over UN building. You can see part of the reason why Turkey was really interested in having that ready by the time Erdogan showed up. So there's the building there. And then this is what led to the FBI examining whether Adams cleared red tape for Turkish government. So this was the story that came out in November 2023, where they began to investigate, like, just the odd nature of why did the mayor force this building open for Turkey? Isn't that weird? So this is when they looked into whether or not he was pressured to do that. And as they write here, the unusual intervention, because it is a very unusual thing to do. Again, You don't.
If this was a quid pro quo, as in this is a development that we wanted to have built and that we wanted you to, avoid a lot of the red tape that comes with, providing safety to your own citizens, can you do that? That's really, really bad, right? If there is like direct evidence of this, that, it's not just speculation, it's something that actually took place.
Don't pull something like this off without already having gotten away with stuff before. Because this is just so brazen, so obvious, so easy and ripe for investigation that to think you could get away with this, you must have gotten away with a lot already. So this part is also hilarious. Eric Adams changed his phone password while being investigated. He told the FBI he had forgotten the password that he just set. The details here are even more funny. So this is in a section called Attempt to Conceal Their Criminal Conduct. When Adams produced his personal cell phone the next day in response to a subpoena, it was locked, such that the device required a password to open. Adams claimed that after he learned about the investigation into his conduct, he changed the password and increased the complexity of his password from 4 to 6 digits. Adams had done this, he claimed, to prevent members of his staff from inadvertently or intentionally deleting the context of his phone, because, according to Adams, he wished to preserve the contents of his phone due to the investigation. Oh, what a swell guy. He made his password tougher so that his staff members, for some reason, wouldn't try and break into his phone. Not sure why they would try and break into his phone and ruin the evidence. But Adams further claimed he had forgotten the password that he just set. The password was so tough that he forgot it himself, even though he just set it. This is like a high school. This is not even high school. This is like a grade 7 kid lying about, forgetting his homework. This is just so comically stupid. Now, here are some of the many trips that he took. As part of the allegations, the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York detailed the undisclosed travel benefits accepted by...
It seems kind of cheap, though. I'm just saying, like, in terms of, like, hey, by the way, we want to bribe an elected official, or we just want to have a friendly working business relationship that includes tons and tons of gifts with an elected official. However you want to sell it or pitch it, fine. But it doesn't seem like it's a really expensive thing for, like, how dangerous it is to completely avoid a fire inspection of a large building being built in New York, one in which that, after the fact it was deemed that this wouldn't have been up to code. Like, that seems, again, a really good ROI.
Adams totaling more than $100,000. So we're talking India, France, Turkey, China, Hungary, Ghana's in there, Turkey's in there several times. It's just comical. And the value of some of these trips, undisclosed. Now, you may wonder, why would Eric Adams even feel the need to travel around when he's so known for saying this?
Everyone knows that New York City is the Athens of America. It's the Istanbul of America. It's the keys of America. It's the soul of America. We are the Tel Aviv of America. New York City is the Islamabad of America. The Zagreb of America. We are the Lima of America. New York City is Mexico City of America. This is the Dublin of America, New York City.
I had to find a place to put that because that clip just is so funny. But it is only topped by this. As Jake Wilkins writes here, we'll always remember.
I thought I was going to go the whole day without seeing this clip. Thank you, David. I appreciate
Eric Adams' pitch for why New York City is so great is that any day you wake up, 9/11 could happen.
When you look at the totality of the year, if you had to describe it, and it's tough to do, in one word, what would that word be, and tell me why?
New York. This is a place where every day you wake up, you could experience everything from a plane crashing into our trade center to a person who's celebrating a new business that's open. This is a very, very complicated city, and that's why it's the greatest city on the globe.
Mm-hmm.
I love every part of that. It's like, come for the small businesses, stay for the mass acts of terror. Come to New York.
All right. The underrated aspect of that clip is that he describes the year in one word as New York City, which is not one word. And also, how do you describe a year with the name of the city that you're living in? And then, of course, the best part is still the 9/11 could happen any day. That's why it's a great city.
You never know.
Eric Adams is so ridiculous. So a little more to wrap up here on the actual topic at hand. So Eric Adams.
We've seen the other two clips. Go check out the Rational National if you want more of David Dole's looks into this. But I got to move on from Eric Adams. I've been covering him all day, and we have had some good laughs, and they were deserved.
Hey, if you'd like to unlock secret bonus episodes as well as uncensored content, go to patreon.com/The Serfs. This show is produced by Anna Loves Riley, Arian McCarthy, Cheryl Alvarez, Comrade Junkie, Doug Caddy, Everything Important, Egbard Celine, Jimmy Sombrero, Multimondi, Omni, Political Puppy, Preston Kroll, Quiet 185, Riley and Anna, Roller Dragon, Cernicus, Stellar Gwyn, Sebastian Demel, Travis McClinton, Trincel, Words Greenwood, with additional support coming from all of these amazing human beings right here.